The gentleman from Tennessee yields back. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Chairman. Agent Strok, did you provide any information to reporters, journalists, or media personalities about anything related to Trump-Russia investigation in 2016, 17, or 18?
No.
Did the press ever talk to you, Agent Strok, about this issue? Did they ever come to you?
The Trump-Russia collusion investigation?
Did the press ever come to you? I'm asking first, did you talk to them? I'm asking now, did they ever come to you about anything related to Trump-Russia investigation in 2016, 2017, or 2018?
I received a number of calls from various members of the media, particularly when I returned from the Office of Special Counsel. In every instance, I referred.
Prior to going on the special counsel team, did you get any inquiries from the press that you took?
Not that I took. I referred them to the Office of Public Affairs of the FBI.
Have you read the dossier?
I have.
Okay, and you wrote about it too, didn't you?
I don't know what you mean by writing about it.
We got an email that you sent. It should be presented there, or should be in front of you there. I want you to take a look at this. This is an email you wrote to Lisa Page, Bill Priestap, Jim Baker, Jim Rubicki, and CC'd Andy McCabe. Subject line is BuzzFeed's about to publish the dossier. You familiar with this email?
I am.
All right. It says this: comparing now, the set is only identical to what McCain had. Parentheses, it has differences from what was given to us by Corn and Simpson. Did you write all that?
Congressman, let me answer it this way. The first, if I could address the chairman. Over the break, I was authorized by the General Counsel.
Hang on a second. I just want my time stopped if you could. Are you addressing me or the chairman?
I'd like to address the chairman
the time.
because this is all going to come together in an answer.
Is there a question you want to direct?
No, it's something I wanted to answer your question from earlier based on something I've been told by the FBI.
Wait.
I think I'm aware of what the FBI told you, and you and I will have another chance to talk about that. But right now, the gentleman from Ohio controls the time.
Right.
You wrote this. That was the question.
So obviously,
wait.
you have
Look at
it.
Do you see the from?
So Congressman, here's
do you see the
my,
from line? Do you see the from line?
Congressman, I do.
It says
and I
Peter
understand
Strzok. And then it says to Lisa Page and a whole bunch of other key people at the FBI. So did you write it?
I did write this.
All right, let me ask you a couple questions about it. It has differences from what was given to us by Corn and Simpson. Who's Corn?
Sir, to answer that question, and I would love to answer that question, and every part of me, and you know why I'd want to answer that question because you have this information.
Who's Simpson?
I have been, sir, if I may, I cannot answer that question.
You wrote about it. It's now public. Who's Corn? Who's Simpson?
Based on direction by the FBI, sir, I am not able to answer questions about ongoing investigative matters.
I just want to figure this out. Agent Strzok. You're referencing 3 copies of the dossier. The BuzzFeed copy you have, the one John McCain's staff gave to you, and the one that you said you got from Corn and Simpson. The one McCain gave to you and the one BuzzFeed has are identical in your words, but they have the Corn and Simpson one is different.
Sir,
this is kind of important.
It is important, and I want to answer your question. And here's the position that I'm in, Congressman. I have been directed. May I answer your question?
Mr. Chairman, may the witness be permitted
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jordan repeatedly asks a question, doesn't let him answer it.
The gentleman from Ohio controls the time.
I have been directed that I may state that I have read the dossier, that I read the dossier as it came in parts and pieces.
You've already told me you read it.
And
I want to know who Corn and Simpson are.
And, sir, what I'm telling you is that I have been directed I may not state the various places
where
let me
ask
the
you this.
FBI
I got that. I know what you're saying. Did you ever communicate with David Corn?
No.
Did you ever communicate with Glenn Simpson?
No.
Did you ever communicate with Nellie Orr?
No.
Did you ever communicate with Bruce Orr?
Yes.
When did you communicate with Bruce Orr?
My recollection is somewhere between possibly 3 or 4 or 5 times in the late 2016, early 2017 timeframe.
What did you talk about?
We talked about investigative matters that Mr. Orr was involved in.
Did you talk about the investigation we're focused on here, Agent Strzok?
My direction from the FBI is that I may not answer that question, sir.
I got it. Let's go back to the email that you sent that you won't talk about. Are there 3 copies of the dossier as evidenced by what you said in this email?
Sir, to be clear, I want to talk about this email. I want nothing more than to answer your question because
you're not talking about it. You're not answering my questions. Are there 3 copies?
3 copies of what?
The McCain copy, the BuzzFeed copy, and the one that you got from Corn and Simpson.
Sir, the most I can say is we received a variety of copies of and different types of
Let me ask you one other
reports
question.
from
Let me
Steele.
ask you one other question. Glenn Simpson testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee on August 22nd, 2017. He was asked, did anyone from Fusion ever communicate with the FBI? His response, no. No one from Fusion ever spoke with the FBI. So here's what I'm having trouble understanding. If Glenn Simpson says no one ever spoke with the FBI, how is it that you got a copy of the dossier from Simpson?
Sir, I can tell you I never had contact with Fusion, with Mr. Simpson, with Mr. Korn. And again, sir.
Chairman, regular order.
The gentleman will have a few more seconds since he was interrupted.
Well, I mean, this is the frustration that every single member of this committee feels is when Agent Strok won't answer, well, more importantly, the American people feel when Agent Strok won't answer fundamental questions like the guy he references in an email, Korn and Simpson, and won't tell me who they are. This is unbelievable. But that's where it's gotten to now, and it's as frustrating as it can get, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Briefly.
Sir, it is as frustrating to me as it is to you. I can tell you, sir, that I would love.
Well, you know what,
Agent
Strok?
Mr. Chairman, may the witness be permitted to answer?
If it's so, if
Gentlemen will suspend.
If it's so frustrating, answer the question.
If you'll allow him to, I'm sure he will.
He has never answered the question who
Stop
Korn and Simpson
interrupting
are.
him.
We're about
The
to
gentleman instruct the gentleman from Ohio to stop badgering and allow him to answer the question.
We're about to move on. The gentleman from Ohio's time's expired. And we're about to move on where Mr. Strzok can answer a question that he refused to answer earlier on advice of counsel. And I'm going to yield to Mr. Gowdy for the purpose of doing that right now.
Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Gowdy starts, may I respond to Mr. Jordan?
Very briefly.
Very briefly, sir, I would love to do that. There is an appropriate time for oversight, and as you well know, that is at the end of an investigation once it's concluded. I am certain Congress will absolutely have the opportunity to look at any investigation once it's closed, ask all these questions, and I would love to answer each and every one of your questions
Mr.
once
Strzok,
the FBI allows me and the
we already know that
done.
answer from you, and you have already been advised that you can answer the questions here, because guess what? This is the United States Congress where you're testifying, not under the jurisdiction of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Mr. Chairman, we cannot be asking about an ongoing investigation that is sabotaging an ongoing investigation by this committee, and that's what he's not cooperating with, and we should not do it.
It is
and he
not,
cannot cooperating with that.
It is. These questions are table-setting questions regarding the formation of this, and he can answer those questions, but
he cannot answer questions regarding an ongoing investigation.
That he can, and so Mr.
He's
Gowdy's
been advised by the FBI that he cannot.
No, he's been advised that he can, and Mr. Gowdy's going to again ask his question.
The gentleman from Ohio has asked for 15 seconds.
So, Agent Strzok, who's being square here? Glenn Simpson says no one from Fusion spoke with the FBI. You say in your email, we got a copy of the dossier from Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, regular order.
We will have regular order, and we'll revisit that question. Now the chair recognizes the gentleman from South Carolina.
Agents.
You said you did not personally receive documents from Mr. Orr, but the FBI did. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you also said the FBI got documents from a different source in mid-September. Different source than whom?
Different source from Mr. Orr. It was not Mr. Orr who provided the initial documents that I became aware of in mid-September.
So Mr. Orr did not hand you the dossier?
Mr. Orr didn't hand me anything. Mr.
FBI.
Orr provided information to the FBI that included material that is what everybody's calling the dossier. Reporting from Mr. Steele.
Say that again. Say that sentence again. Mr. Orr provided what?
He provided some elements of reporting that my understanding is originated from Mr. Steele.
So Bruce Orr did give the FBI information relative to the dossier?
Yes.
Wow, that pause was very revealing. One of the more explosive revelations during today's marathon House hearing with disgraced FBI agent Peter Strzok. Joining us now with more, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Oh, by the way, Congressman Jordan, welcome to the club. If you support Donald Trump, you had to know the lies, the smears against you are obviously a political attack.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you're going through that.
Yeah, you've been through it. You know what it's like. So thank you. But today,
I
you're
know it every day. It's all of
exactly.
us. Anyone that
Exactly.
supports the president.
Exactly right.
And I'm sorry you and your family have to go through that.
Thank you. Today, think about that. Top DOJ official Bruce Orr actually hands parts of the dossier to the FBI. And remember, Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie, worked for Fusion GPS, who was paid by the Clinton campaign to put this entire dossier together. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that the FBI has admitted they got parts of the dossier from Bruce Orr, a fellow DOJ employee. That's scary.
And the wife of Bruce Orr, wasn't she one of the ones that worked for Fusion GPS that
All
had
summer
the
long.
money that was funneled through Perkins Coie, that hired the foreign national, and that got Russian lies? Oh, Russia tried to impact the election through Hillary. Is that not true?
Exactly. Bruce Orr, fourth-ranking official at the Department of Justice. His wife works for Fusion GPS in the summer. He gets information, passes it to the FBI. That becomes the basis to spy on the Trump campaign. Plain and simple. This is the first time, to my knowledge, the FBI has admitted that, and it was good that we got some of that information out today. So this whole investigation...
The hesitation.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He hesitated. He didn't want to answer your question.
Sure did. It took me 3 rounds to get it out of him. But I'll tell you what, this investigation started flawed with the dossier. And Matt Gaetz had some great questioning where when Mueller gets rid of Strzok, it's now flawed on the back end as well, because Bob Mueller didn't even ask Peter Strzok about all these text messages that show his animus to Donald Trump, to President Trump. So Bob Mueller, when the day he fired him, it was like a 15-minute meeting. He didn't even get into the fact that Peter Strzok had written all these terrible things about our president. He didn't even get into that. So this thing was flawed when it started on this based on this dossier, and it's flawed here at the end based on when they got rid of Strzok and didn't even ask him important questions.
Just like Andrew Weissman, who lost tens of thousands of Americans their jobs, overturned 9-0 Supreme Court, 4 innocent people sent to jail for a year, overturned by Fifth Circuit, and gets excoriated by a judge for withholding exculpatory evidence. He's on Team Mueller. There's no team in America that could ever be fair with the pit bull like that. Let me ask you this. At the heart of this, was Hillary's investigation rigged? So the favored candidate's investigation rigged? And was this a specific attempt to basically steal an election, pretty much? The smelly people, don't let them win.
Yeah, well, we always thought the Clinton investigation was rigged. Now what we've learned in the last several months and from the Inspector General's report, we know it was rigged. And the same people who ran the Russian investigation. They started the Russian investigation based on this dossier. This was such a key element to getting the warrant, the secret warrant, to spy on Carter Page associated with the Trump campaign. So it looks flawed from the get-go on that investigation as well, Sean.
Congressman, thanks for being with us. I'll tell you this.